Hello. Um, there's this new rig that I can use in a jungle, and it's exciting and terrifying because I don't know how much of this will work. I just don't know. Here in a jungle, it's important to have the equipment and setup and watch out for dangers, the unexpected. You can always expect the unexpected in a jungle. It's true. Just ask, well, you can ask me. So today, we're going to continue a series that we call Design Workshop. Design Chat. We took over the just chatting category and talk about design, and it's totally fun. Design Workshop, we're taking over the software game development channel. That category is good for when we have to do code for a game like Small Towers. But that game is done. So yeah, we don't need that, you see. We have another game. It's called Shuffle Wars, and cool, but it also does not need code. We need art, so we'll do the art stream category thing for those. We're doing character design. In the meantime, we need to have something to do with these things, right? Just chatting is excellent to just talk about game design, right? The software and game development category is good to talk about code or making things. So while I duck out of the noises in the jungle, making things. Hello, somebody. Yes.
Welcome.
I appreciate you following. So nice of you to stop by. I'm gonna call you Mortal. There's so many letters. I literally can't. Yeah, Mortal. How about Mortal? Nice to see you. Thank you for stopping by, and especially thank you for the follow. Very nice. I'm curious how you found us, but you know what we're going to do today? We're going to kind of do some software development because we're going to go into the game engine called Unity. You're studying. I wonder what you're studying. So many letters. Exactly. Well, that's what I said. Nice to see you, Brandy. So, many letters. This channel category, software game development, we're going to use because we talk about game design in the just chatting category, you know. So I hope you guys don't mind. O'Neillus. Okay. Immortal. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the phonetic. That helps me quite a bit. Did I say O'Neillus? Is that correct? Is that all right? Teach you things. Well, yes, absolutely. 07. Let's do that. So here's the thing. We've been doing a series called Design Chat. We did like 5 in the series so far, and they're all going to YouTube. And sure, yeah, but we have them here too. We talk about design. The last one, we said, let's just make a game in an hour, and we did. I mean, is it a full AAA game? No. It's a design of a game, right? In this stream, we can actually do stuff. We can make things. And so previously, like we've done 5, we made pixel art. We brought it into the game engine. We made a game object move around with our keys, like the keyboard keys. So we're like making things. The key is, no pun intended, small steps, right? If we go over one small step every time, we'll be talking about a bunch of small steps. The game you see down below, it's flashing right now, says Small Towers. You know, we make games here in the jungle, and that's one of the games. It took about 6 weeks. It's pixel art, 2D. Chat can play, by the way. It's run with chat commands. The bots are playing right now, but kick them out, dude. They're just demoing the game. You can queue up and you can play against a bot or you can play against each other. It's run with chat commands. But the point is, not to digress, this was made with small steps. Pixel art was done. Making game objects move around was done. Small steps. A bunch of small steps made this. Aw. You're just saying that. Stop. So, I'm going to have to shorten that. Can I call you... Which would you rather be called? How about, let me ask that one. Immortal? Because I can do that. I can see that pretty easily. Well, sure, you got a cartoon ape in a jungle making games. How often do you don't see that every day. You just don't see that. But here in the jungle, we are, in fact, nerds. So, yeah. This is what I wanted to do today. There was a small step. So, I often say you can call me Hey You, so I feel that. So, small steps. Today's small step. Hey, look, if we before made some pixel art in this program, it's free. It's called GIMP. It's like Photoshop, but it's free. We made some pixel art of a coin. Coin. Like you pick up a coin. We brought that into the game engine. That's nice. We put it on a card, and I'm showing it on this 3D card. Oh gosh, this tablet is going to drive me insane. Put it on this 3D card. It's a game object in the scene. There is a camera in the game engine, and it's pointed at the card. So it kind of looks like a 2D game. It's technically exactly like what we have down below. You just saw this now? Hey, since you guys are cool, and I'm going to trust you on this one now, I'll tell you secrets. I'm just trusting you now. Okay, so before we did this, we said, let's bring in pixel art and throw it on a card in the game engine. That was like the first one. That was an hour, right? These are small steps, right? It's not much, but if you know, hey, I can download that for free. The game engine is free as well. This program, GIMP, is free as well. If I tell you, you can do this in an hour, you can do this. Exactly, see? Secrets. Then you can do these small steps too. The next thing we did was you said, well, let's just try and get this to move. Let's just move it to the right with code, which, oh my gosh, we're doing code? Relax, dude. It was nothing. It was literally nothing. But we did this in an hour. We said, let's just learn about what it means to move these game objects in the engine, because it's 3D space, and we're just going to move it to the right. Go. We did it. Crazy town. The next time, now keep in mind, we did a script. This is, the game engine is making this happen all on its own. And there's some power here that we just glossed over. But you made this, right? And then the next time we're like, you know what, let's do this over time. Because at first it was just pop and we just teleported over there. This time, let's use game time and actually go over there, animate, move animation, right? The next time we said, well, let's go back to the pixel art and do frames of animation as well. Yeah, see, that's the one I say. That's why I put the pin message at the top, let me know you're here. But I already know you guys are here, so. Can you tell I'm excited? Okay, so then we made frames of animation, right? We made 4 frames that made the coin look like it was spinning around. Nothing big. Actually, we just reversed one of these frames. And we said, let's make a new script, actually, and have this script pay attention to input. We said, these are common things that games need. You need some pixel art in your game? Boom, we did that. You need to move your game object or just place it somewhere? Boom, we did that. We said you want to move it over time? Do move animation? Boom, we did that. We said another very common thing you want to do is take input from your player. So we made another C# script and we said, go ahead. The rule is if the player presses spacebar, then the animation will play once. If they press A or D, then it will move left and right. So we got WASD and spacebar. So we're like doing one small step, right? One small step, one small step, one small step. So what's today? What do we got in store today? I got to be honest, we're going to go back to code. So, run now. But the point is, oh, well, cool. Yeah. I have experience teaching code. So I hope that I'm making it accessible, right? Anyone can do this is the whole point of this channel, right? And yeah, maybe C# is your bag. We also play around in the Unreal Engine and use Blueprint and just say you can do this as well, because all this software is free. If you're watching this on anything more than a mobile device, you've got everything you need. Like, go for it, right? I mean, I have a crappy tablet. I guess that's one thing extra. But here's the point. Today, if we have all of this in place, like literally there's the coin, and it moves with A and D, and the space bar like makes it animate. Actually, can I prove that? Yes, I can. Unity, it's a game engine. It includes two things. It's got like 3D space. And we talked about this earlier. I'm just pointing it out. It's got 3D space and it's got 3D time. That's really all a game engine is. Game space, game time. Just want to make sure my avatar's out of the way. It's not. Darn it. Look at the bots for a second. I'll fix this. Why? I'll just turn it off manually now, and I'll deal with it later. Oh, I know why. Because I replaced this. Okay. Makes sense. So. Game space and game time, no big deal. Here's our coin. Now, it is just a flat plane, right? But it's got some pixel art on it. And it should be able to move in, 3D space, but we're ignoring the Z axis because we actually want to make it look like a 2D game. Sort of. I mean, for now, we're just doing small steps. I mentioned we made two scripts, like literally here they are. And at first, one of these scripts just sort of moved this over like that. That's all it did. But then we said we want it to move over time. And so we made that happen. This other script has like these frames of animation that we actually made. And it's kind of cool. You can kind of see them. They could loop, but we just said, play once and then stop if you hit the space bar. And again, we made a rule. If the player presses A, move to the left. If the player presses D, move to the right. And if the player presses spacebar, animate once. Those are the rules, and those rules translated into what we do in code. So, I mean, not to freak you out, but here's some code. Right? It's not... We built this up over time. At first, we were really just looking at this. We made one line of code based on this other line of code. We made two lines of code. That was like our first thing. So we're coming in like the 6th installment of the series, and there's a little bit of code. But don't freak out. You can see, hey, we're seeing if the A key was pressed, and we're just changing this number so that we can move to the left, like this. If I click in the window now, I can do A and D. So this is what we had before, right? I can say A and stop, D and stop. So if we're holding it down, it'll keep moving. If we just kind of tap it, it just kind of moves a little bit. And if we press spacebar, it rotates once. That's just our frames of animation along with our moving back and forth. So we have input, move animation, frame animation like pixel art frames, and, some code, bring in pixel art. These are the small steps. So today, what's the new step? Because I've already burned about 15 minutes. All right, smarty pants. Today, we kind of need to revisit something we've glossed over so far. This code is, lines of code, and these green things are just notes, really. But they're all sitting inside these curly brackets, and we haven't really talked about them very much, other than to say, put your code inside the curly brackets, and blah, blah, blah. Today, we can say, well, look, we haven't talked about functions yet, but we should. Today, we can do that. Today, I also mentioned that a really powerful, very common thing you want to do is have one of your tools talk to another. The reason, kind of like we have two tools here, one to animate the frames of pixel art animation, one to actually move this game object called coin. Like, we played around with it in the engine, and then we said, okay, let's make a script to do exactly this. And that's all it does, is that. This code here is only meant to, every frame, decide if it should move at all, starting out with an answer of no. But if we press A or D, then yes, move in that direction. And then it literally teleports it a little bit to the left or to the right. That's all it is. This is a function, however, because it has got these instructions in it. This is like a recipe or a book. It's a set of instructions that doesn't do anything until it's called. And the only reason why this does anything at all is because this is automatically called every single frame. So that's kind of why we've been using it. This is another function, right? It's called start, and it's used once. That's how we originally had this line of code, move it over a little bit, right? Originally, our code looked like this. That's all it was. And it was up here in start. And it happened when we hit play and it moved over, and it was like, wow, we teleported a game object. Well, let's look at what a function is, though, because this is super powerful in terms of just organizing your stuff. Look, we've only done this a few weeks. Well, no, a few installments. Hasn't been weeks, really. And this is already built up like this. And then there's this other script that is also built up. I mean, look at all this, right? Looks like more, right? This handles the frames of animation and stops when it shouldn't play. Otherwise, it is waiting once per frame and blah, 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 blah. We did this before. You can go look at the video. But again, we're using the functions that are given to us by default. This one is run once at start. And then this is run every single frame. These are automatically called. These functions are automatically called. And because they're called, that's why the instructions are run. That's why we put our code here so they can be called and run. Well, we've glossed over this, like what is a function and why would you care and whatever. Today, we need to actually talk about it because we're going to do a very common thing, a small thing. Let's make our own functions and let's have scripts talk to each other. This particular script, animate coin, uses a simple way to keep track of time. This is the amount of time we want to, start at, right? And this is another thing to remember. It's a number. It's a decimal number. It's called a float. They're the same, but this one stays consistent, whatever frame time we want to hold on each frame. This one changes every frame. it goes down a little bit and down a little bit more. These frames run really fast. And when it's all the way down, that's when we change the frame. It gets reset to this, and then this runs down a little bit more and a little bit more in the next frames. So this is a way to keep track of time. And there are other ways, but this allows us to, use this number if we want to, and sometimes that's helpful. But also, learning out how to do a timer turns out to be one of the most common things you do. Games could run really fast, instantly. Computers don't care. Computers don't care, and they will run as fast as they want to. But humans take time to understand what's happening, and so timers are necessary all over the place. If you're watching Small Towers and you see like the bots win and it recycles, well, there's a whole lot of timer going on there to let the humans understand what's going on. This is so common. So let's make a new script that does a new timer. This one will wait a bit longer, but it's different. It's a different tool entirely. So this animates frames, and it's a very small amount of time to wait per frame. The other one will be a timer that waits longer. I don't know. Let's do it every 3 seconds. The idea is it's a separate tool. Its whole job is to do a timer. Well, okay. What happens at the end of the timer? Because this changes frames. What does that one do? Let's make up a rule. Let's make up a rule for what that other script does. And then I'm going to have it do something very cool. I'm going to have it talk to this script. On our coin, these two scripts are here. And we could have multiple copies of this coin. That's totally fine. So they could be set to different settings and all that stuff. These are just settings. These are the things we've done. So this could run slower, two coins, This one could run slower when we press spacebar, right? They're two different copies of the same tool, but they're able to be set differently, see? Having tools separated like this is helpful when you're thinking about how do I want to organize my game. Games will build up to be really complex things, but we take small steps. That's the way we tackle it. Another way to tackle it is to divide the work. And that's what's up. We're going to divide this work. So let's go ahead and I'm still trying to get my avatar to work. I'm sad that it's not working. Go ahead and make a new script. This is what a script looks like when it starts out. We've already organized some because we have folders. And inside our scripts folder, we're going to go ahead and create. And we are going to create a C# script, mono behavior script. Okay. The latest version of Unity has this a different name. These are very common, so I understand why they put it up here. Mono behavior. Okay, sure. It is C# though. In an older version, like just the earlier version, just before this one, it was called C# script, but it's the same thing. Okay. I would like to just call this timer coin. That's fine. It's meant to be a timer on the coin. Now, it asked me to name this before we finished. It's because it puts that name inside the code. This is a preview of the text that is this code, and this is just text. Nothing fancy about it. I do appreciate having consistent namespaces, though, so I will do that. It's true, it doesn't need it, but it might. So, oh my goodness, they changed the... They changed this message as well. So this is a newer version of Unity, but it's, I mean, we're not doing anything super fancy here, so. Before the first execution, yeah, thanks about this. Yeah, very simple. It's not complicated. It's not meant to be complicated. But the first thing I'm going to do is explain to people in code comments just who wrote this. You know, if something goes wrong, here's who to blame. Okay? And what this script is meant to do, manages a timer. And trigger? What is a trigger? Well, I'm just going to signal the other script. We're going to signal the animation script to play. Exactly like what we do with spacebar now. After 3 seconds, this script tells the animate coin script to play. And then reset the timer, I guess. So and I guess I also need to run the timer. You see me like making notes here in code comments, right? Run the timer down. Okay. So I'm going to, think about it in these notes, and I just realized, I need to run the timer down. That's one step. I need to reset the timer. That's another step. I didn't think about it. I was just doing this, and I realized, oh, yeah. Okay. Along the way, I'm realizing, oh, that's right. I'm going to need a way to tell this script how to do it. So we're going to, do a small thing, right? This is halfway through this installment, and we've been talking about what we could do, and the rule now is we're making a new script. We'll go ahead and put it on a new game object. What? Yeah, it's not the coin. In fact, I'll just move it way over here so you know it's not the coin. It's empty, so it doesn't look like anything. It'll just sit right here, and I'll rename it. It's called game object right now. I'll call it timer. And I'm going to just, like what we've done with our coin, I'm going to drag and drop this new script on this new game object. What is this? Well, we would call this a tool because it's a game object that sits in the scene and it has a script component on it that does something useful. I mean, technically, this is also a tool. It's the camera. This is also a tool. It's the light. This is also a tool because it shows our coin and has some extra scripts on there to have it move around and animate. So we're making a new tool. This tool has nothing on it right now except this script, which is blank, so it doesn't do anything yet. But it is separate, absolutely. And what we'll do is have it do something through the code. Let's do this. If I say, well, I want the timer to run down, and then I want to reset the timer. This looks very similar to what we were doing with this animate coin thing, because this is an amount of time we want to wait before time is up. And this is, so this, we need to remember what that number is. That's why we need to make a variable, which is, as we described before, like a box. You could put stuff in. In this case, we're putting a decimal number in it. And this is another box. Why? Because this needs to stay the same. This needs to change. And so whenever we look in the box, I need to rely on this being, in this case, an accurate amount of how much time is left. This one, I need to look in the box and have a very stable amount of time that I need to reset my timer to. Because I'm setting my timer to something and running it down, I actually need two variables, and I will use them. Now, again, there's many different ways to do everything, but we're going to use this same method, this same pattern of working a timer. And this is a best practice. If you find a pattern that works and you reuse it, that is a best practice. In this case, I think, yeah, we had something that we called a float, and we called it timer delay, I guess that's what I'll call it. The amount of time to wait, right? We had another timer, and I'm putting some space behind it on purpose. And I will call this timer. And if you look back here, you notice these keywords here, public and private, were also there. And when we look at our script, you can see this number in the inspector. You can see it right here. But you cannot see timer. Timer is not here. The difference is this public and private. Private means don't show it. But it also means don't reveal it to any other tool. Public literally says expose it to everything, including the user, but also the other tools. Let's keep that in mind. I will go ahead and do the same pattern to keep it simple. Let's have a public setting for how much to delay, but a private variable tracking how much time is left. A good rule of thumb is if a user could come in and mess with it and screw up your tool, then don't make it public. In other words, keep it private if you want it to be safe from being messed up. This, however, is a setting, and we're going to rely on this to be set by the user, yeah? If we save and go back into Unity, we're going to see, as I type this, as I try to type, there we go. We can see that our timer tool has this timer delay thing set, which is cool. And I think we said 3 seconds is what we wanted. By default, it's 0. So now it's configured. Cool. We can save, right? Cool. Yeah. Does it do anything yet? No, it doesn't do anything yet. If we hit play, I mean, everything the same is there. So I can move it back and forth, and I can press spacebar to animate it. All right. But we said there's new rules. We want to run a timer down. Well, we're not even doing that yet. Resetting the timer? Actually, we're not even doing that. But after 3 seconds, this script tells the other script to play. I don't even know how to get this script to play. Oh, wait, yes, I do. We look to see if the spacebar is pressed. That's how we tell it to play. That's how we tell the other script to play. Could we do the same thing here? Yes. We're going to make functions on that script to do this. We're going to call that function from here. Wow, crazy. Well, let's work with the timer first, get these out of the way. But actually, both of these we can do. And then we'll worry about this part, right? Because really, this is the timer script, and so we'll just deal with time for right now. If you recall, start runs once. That's great. But really, to track time, we use update all the time. Let's do this. First things first, if we have this available to be called once before the frames are starting to run, before the engine is running, cool. Then let's actually set timer to be the timer delay thing that we want. In other words, the user sets it to 3 seconds or whatever. Great. Whatever it is, timer will be set to that in the beginning. Very first thing. This is, by the way, resetting the timer, isn't it? Yes, it is. Right? It's exactly this step. So cool. Next time we need to reset the timer, we can do that. Yes, we can. And let's keep that in mind. All right, but what about running the timer down? Well, if you recall, in this other script, we did that too. This, and we even use the same variable name, and that's okay because these are in separate tools, so it's okay. Otherwise, names need to be unique. This is how we ran the timer down, reduce the timer. That's exactly what we did. There is something helpful called time. This is called a class, and we will talk about classes later, like we're talking about functions today. I mentioned we will talk about functions later, and here we are today. So we'll talk about this another time, but this is a class, and it's very helpful. And I can just call it by name, hit a dot, and access all kinds of cool stuff, including this delta time, which is our key to running the timer down appropriately. The interval in seconds. How many seconds from the last frame to this one? Turns out these frames run really fast, so this is a very small number of seconds. Very small number. But every frame, and it could change every frame, by the way. This measures it exactly and gives us a very accurate count, so we know exactly how much to reduce this. And this symbol means reduce it. Subtract this amount is what it says. So let's just, can we just do this? Copy that? Yeah. I mean, that is why I actually named it the same. This actually runs the timer down. Wow, really? Yeah. Now, could we test this? I mean, we could, right? Because theoretically, we have this configured. This is set to go. In fact, we reset the timer to start with, and then we run it down. The problem with testing it now is we would never know if it worked. Right? Here I am playing, and can I tell if it's working? No. I actually don't know what the value of timer is. This hidden variable is not visible, and so I can't really tell what's going on. Now, we could do a trick. Let's do a trick. Let's briefly change this to public. Save, go back in, try it again, because I said you couldn't tell. Well, now we can see timer, and look at this, running down. Oh my gosh, look how fast. -1, -2, -3. In fact, that is in seconds, but this is updating so fast. These frames are running very fast. Cool. Well, I guess that's a good test. Now, it was definitely getting down below 0, and that's not okay. We actually need to use it, right? After 3 seconds, which implies we're actually waiting until that number is 0 or less. And if you recall, that's what we did on the script before. We said if, right? This keyword if allows us to do a very important small thing. This is a rule. If the timer is less than 0, then, time ran out. Well, actually, yeah, that's kind of what we need to do here, too. Can we just copy? Yes. Can we just copy this? Yes. This is the same thing. This pattern, by the way, if it's your own code, it's not cheating to just copy it. It's a best practice. Programmers are lazy. You should know this. A virtue is to be lazy and find more efficient ways to do things, right? If you can copy and paste, you rename this the same thing, the pattern is the same, you're much more likely for it to be working, consistent, and you could even improve it a bit. And so if you continue to use the pattern, it gets better. There's a lot of good best practices here. But this says, well, the timer is now going to be looked at. And if the value is less than or equal to 0, then we could do a thing. I don't know, like time is up. We could print this. This is another way to use, this is another thing to do in testing to get the feedback you need to see if it's doing what you want. So in this case, I'll say timer is up. Print is, by the way, a function, and we've used this before for testing like this. This is very common. And what we're trying to do is just see if we can tell when the timer is up. Okay. This will be run the next frame, though, and we're not really doing anything with timers. So we saw it go less than 0 and then be -1, -2. So this will, every single frame, say timer is up. So we better do something about it, like reset the timer. Let's do that. I know exactly how to do that. It's this. I'll copy and paste this. Like, we're doing nothing but copy and paste? Yes, we are. But here, now, we can test this. Is it going to say the timer is up every 3 seconds? Let's try that. First of all, this is still public, so we can actually see it. But I'm going to let it run, and there it is, 3, 2, 1. And in the console, if there is any feedback, the bottom bar, which is typically black and small, will actually fill with the last line of the console. You can also open the console by saying General Console. Well, cool. Every 3 seconds, it says timer is up. Nice. That's a good test. And if it wasn't working, that's still a good test. Because we know something went wrong and we can try and figure it out. The beauty is we're going step by step by step. And so if something does go wrong, because we test at each step, if something does go wrong, guess what? We can fix it because we know exactly what step it broke on, you see. All right. I'm going to keep my avatar off, and I'm sad about that because I like my avatar. Anyway, so it looks like this timer jazz is totally working, and I said I was going to briefly turn that to public. I'll turn it back to private. This follows the pattern we had before here. But also, I think we're good. Run the timer down after 3 seconds, yada, 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 and reset the timer. All that is done. The only part we don't have is this. So this tool is already kind of doing all the stuff we wanted to do, except that, right? And this is where we're going to talk about functions a little bit. It is a way to organize your code. And it is also, update and start are functions that you have available, right? Frankly, there are other classes that have functions available. Just like this delta time is available inside time, there are functions that are available inside a lot of classes. In fact, bro, this is a class. We just made this today. Is this a class? Yes, it is. Wait a minute. Is that what scripts are? Yes. Scripts are collections of variables and functions. It just has a name on it that is unique, and yeah, that's it. It's a collection. You mean, what do you mean? I mean it's organized. That's all. It's got a name on it so you can catch it by name. It has things grouped together logically. This timer coin script has the timer stuff in it. This animate coin script has the frame animation stuff in it. This move coin has the move animation stuff in it. They are different, grouped together by name. So it's just organizing. Yes, it is just organizing. So let's do an example of a function right here. I'm going to recognize right now that I do the same code twice. And there's a little itch that grows in me that says, ooh, you should really not duplicate code. You should do it once, and you should make it a function. Now, why does that itch happen? Well, I'm a nerd, but also it is a best practice. I don't know how many times I may want to reset the timer, but right now I can see I'm already doing it twice. Why don't I make it a function and just use that function? Let me explain why in a second. But first, let's make the function. I'm going to actually make a function. Right here, there's space where I can make new lines. And does the computer care? No, the computer does not care. Actually, it does not care. This is all for readability of humans, right? But it does care that it's inside these curly brackets for the class. The curly brackets here, after this class declaration, is all about the class. The curly brackets here is all about update. The curly brackets here is all about this particular condition if the timer is less than 0. These curly brackets, they're otherwise known as scope. All these instructions right in here won't be run unless this is true. All these instructions here won't be run unless this is called. And all of this stuff, including the functions and the variables, won't even be used unless this script is on a game object in the scene. These curly brackets are important in that way. And to make a new function just like this, I'm going to put it inside the curly brackets, just like that. So check it. I'm going to say void. What does void mean? Well, technically it means nothing. It is literally a word that is a placeholder if there was going to be something there. We don't need something there, just like update doesn't need something there. And so void literally is, heck, I don't even have a tooltip for it because it means nothing. This is going to sound strange, but I'm just following the pattern that I see up here, and one day we'll explain it further. But right now I'm just going to call it reset timer. Now I'm making up this name. I'm making up this name right now, and you're saying, that's crazy talk. Is this a function that is already there and you're just memorizing it? No, I just made up this name. I could call it Dave if I want. That's fine. Totally fine. I do need to put these parentheses afterwards. In fact, I typed one and Visual Studio immediately typed the other one so I wouldn't forget it. But Dave is pretty much existing except for one thing. Its own set of curly brackets. So I'm going to hit a new line and I'm going to type the first curly bracket. You'll see these curly brackets somewhere, but notice Visual Studio made a second one. It's also suggesting a lot of code, but really it put these two together. It made the second one just like it made the second parentheses. Why? Well, they need to be there. This is like bookends where all kinds of stuff can be in between, but you absolutely do not want to forget this. This causes errors and all kinds of craziness. Like it doesn't know what to do. It literally doesn't know where update ends. Right? Because I took out that curly bracket. If I put it back, everything's fine. This is also why you see the dashed lines. This is also why you see the indentation. This is so important to keep straight that it visually shows you how to organize your stuff. If I put one curly bracket, it puts the other one. It also indents. It also puts these little dashed lines. Isn't that nice? Dave is looking pretty good. Dave is a function. No way. Yeah. Check. Dave is going to be the thing that resets the timer. In fact, these instructions right here. In fact, why don't I just copy and paste? Bro, it can't be that easy. No way. Yeah, no, I made a function. It's called Dave. It's in my script that I made called timer coin, and there it is. Prove it. Okay, I will call Dave. I will say, hey, Dave, reset the timer. Except I don't need... Dave knows what he needs to do. Dave has all the instructions. I just need to call Dave. I say, yo, Dave. There it is. Right there. Like, I'm not even... I just say D, and there it is, right there. Like, Visual Studio knows that I just made a function. I just created it. So powerful. I gave it a name and formatted it correctly, and suddenly it exists. It is a thing. Dave is alive. And I can say, yo, Dave, do that thing you do. I am now replacing these two lines of code with this one line of code. Technically speaking, this is not saving a lot, but it is a best practice. I have now organized my code to do this so I can just call Dave. Hey, Dave. And Dave says, oh, I should reset the timer? Okay. Literally, this works the same. I just moved these instructions here. Prove it. Okay. Dave is now in effect. Dave is alive. Dave knows his job. He has all his instructions. So when I say play, Dave is going to, oh, I don't have any way to validate the test. I will put that print line back in. Timer's up, yeah, exactly. Visual Studio knows what's up. So I just put this back in so we can actually see when that is up. And again, after 3 seconds, we can see the timer set, and runs and timer set again. And so every 3 seconds, timer's up. So this runs exactly the same. Dave is doing his job. Dave is awesome. Okay, the name Dave is a bit silly, but I wanted to prove a point that we are absolutely making this up. If I call this something more reasonable, like reset timer, it's the same thing, but Dave doesn't exist anymore. It's now called reset timer. Cool. Didn't we do that up here too? Yeah, we did. Shouldn't we, yes, we should. Reset timer. There it is. It exists, and I can just auto-complete. Easy. Easy. So this is one reason why you would start to use functions. It's to organize. And you're saying like, okay, so I saved like, what, 2 lines of code? Like, this is dumb. Granted. But it's very common to say, I really want to organize my code. And get this, what if I actually want to do something, really special with the, I would never do this, but let's say, I really want to like change this. I want to add some. Well, if I had it in more than one place, I'd have to go to each of those places and make the change. Aha. But if I have it in one place, I can make that change in one place. And no matter where else it is called, even if I forgot, it's still going to be run exactly the way I want, you see. There's a few best practices going on by doing this. Just moving code that you use more than once into its own function is a best practice.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Well, hello. I'm going to say this coffee. Do I have that right? Gosh. I am well. Thank you so much. Do you know what we're doing? And pardon me. I'm going to have to duck out just to say hello. A cartoon ape in a jungle is making games. So, yeah, we're in the jungle, but we also make games like the one down below. It's called Small Towers. You are welcome to hang out, lurk if you like. There are secrets as well. You never know. But the point is, I'm a nerd. By the way, how are you? If we continue with this, because I've got another 10 minutes, I want to try and finish this up. My point is anyone can do this stuff, and we're just about at the end of this small step. My point is functions help organize. Yay. And we just made it up, and it works, and it's recognized. I can actually say, call our brand new function, and there it is. It's easy. Just name it, and it exists. It's cool. I'm fine. You? Yes, I am fine. I'm just busy, that's all. I'm glad that you followed. First of all, are the drivers up to date? Be right back. Okay. What drivers? I'm good. This is a brand new rig. How are you? And again, how are you? I'm fine. Thank you. You're welcome to lurk if you want. Use command lurk. Okay. I'm going to get back to what I'm doing because I have very little time to finish this up. Try to do it in an hour. That's what we're trying to do here. So, thank you for following. So, I think we're good to remove our print line that's going to, well, actually, let's keep it there for now. So I want to see when the timer's up. But the only other piece we wanted to do is this. The timer's doing its thing. And we even made a function, We even made a function to reset the timer just to show what making a function is about. But this, and that is common. I mentioned we were going to talk about functions, and so yeah. But this is also super common. In fact, this is more powerful. Once we can get one tool to talk to another, we can, just like organizing our code inside a single script into separate functions and things, we can organize our whole game into separate tools and have them do different things. We've already started to do this. This moves the game object. This animates the frames. This does a timer. These are separate tools. But having them talk to each other is key, because right now the only thing that's common is they're in the same scene. Imagine if this script can talk to the other script. We're demonstrating a super powerful thing. I can do a signal from one tool to another, and therefore I can separate all the features of my game. They can all handle their own feature. And when they need to, they coordinate. They do something. I'm glad you're back. Sorry, my avatar is not up at the moment. I know. All right. Here we go. I didn't know when you were going to be back, but I do need to move. So try it again. You see. Secrets. It's fun. And by the way, that game down below is called Small Towers. And it's made for chat to run the game with commands just like that. Oh, stop. Exactly, right? So here's the thing. We try to do something in an hour, a small step. And the game down below called Small Towers was made with a lot of small steps. That's all it is. That's what we're trying to prove. I think I got 5 minutes. So let me try and get this done. The step we're trying to do today. What is the game about down below? Small Towers? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is 2-player, but the bots will play with you if you want, or multiple humans can play. They're just demoing the game right now. Small Towers is made for chat to be tower defense, but you go against another tower defense player. You can recruit troops like marauders and archers. You can recruit an engineer and they can build. You can recruit a wizard and they can do spells. You got healers, etc. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's there for chat in case people are bored listening to an ape, All right, I need to get back to it. I'm going to run out of time. If we recognize that, and I am hiding my avatar in this screen just so we can, I don't need to actually. I can probably do the rest of this with my avatar on. I just lost my hotkey for that, that's all. I'll get it back in a second, but okay. If we have the timer running down, and that's all good, then this new script that we made, doing one simple job, is set to go. This is the only piece that's left over. How do I tell another tool to do something? Right? Well, it's going to use the function idea that we just did. We made this function, and that's cool because we can just call it. And then it does its thing. Nice. Let's make a function here to do what we want. In this case, this previously we made this script, and it says if the player presses the space bar, animate. Well, we're going to replace this and say the new rule is, well, maybe in addition to, we will have our other script able to call a function. When are you going? When am I going? Oh, how long am I streaming for? Well, I'm trying to do it in less than an hour, so I'm sorry if I'm distracted. But I am going to try and finish this. You learning, making, or you already know? Well, I am, in effect, demonstrating best practices so people can do it themselves. If you are learning, you can just follow, and it's actually not too hard. If you just want to watch an ape or you want to just play small towers, that's fine. I'm going to get this done in about 5 minutes. I know I can do that. So, okay. Pardon me if I'm distracted for the next 5 minutes, but I will focus on this to get it done. Okay? Thank you again for following and for sitting around to chat. That's fun. Okay. This script already plays animation. If I do this and I say, here's my coin object, there's the script, and I say spacebar, it already animates once, right? Well, what I'm saying is there's this other script that is currently saying timer's up, timer's up. I actually, I may actually want to, might actually want to increase the time on this. Instead of 3 seconds, I'll make it 5, because I'm now realizing how long that frame animation is. But I want this to now talk to this, and instead of the space bar, I want it to be the this tool that does it. Okay? So, this script that only listened to the player pressing the space bar, let's go look at where that is. We did this previously, but every frame we look for this. Have they pressed the space bar? Okay, and if that is true, then we do this. So it's really just that, actually. That's all we need to do if the other tool says, yo, play the animation. Because I know that's true because we can press the spacebar and see it play. So I think that's true. But what we don't have is a way for the other script to talk to this yet, right? Well, let's copy that code because this is our key to doing things. And I said we would make a new function, so let's go ahead and do that. Again, like we did just a second ago, let's find a good place inside the last curly brackets, the curly brackets that bookend the entire class, just like these other functions are. And that way we can start our function inside this class. No big deal. But I'm going to type the same thing we did before. I think it was void Dave. We called our function Dave, which was goofy and silly. Let's call it something a little bit more reasonable this time. Let's call it like play animation. That sounds pretty good. And if you remember, I said we need to have parentheses. If I type one, Visual Studio doesn't want me to forget the other one, and it immediately types that one too. And we're not quite there yet because I also need to do the curly brackets for this. And if I type 1, Visual Studio immediately puts the second one. Cool. So this is how we made a function before. We called it Dave, but then we renamed it to reset timer. This looks the same. These are the same, right? The difference, though, this time we're actually going to put that keyword public in front of it. We did that up here in the timer function to say this is a setting the player can set. So they can tell us how much to delay. And I just changed this from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. So it's public so that I could do that. This is private, and we never see this thing. It's hidden. And it's hidden so that people don't mess with the timer while it's running down. This is something separate it needs to remember, but, it shouldn't be exposed. Public exposes it. The word public. And so if I put this here, this also exposes it. But not to the inspector, not to the user. It exposes it specifically for it exposes it to other tools. So why is this giving me a problem? Visual Studio is saying there's a problem here, and I don't know what it is. Public, void, play animation. I don't have any reason to think that would be wrong. Because it's empty? Yeah, it's just empty. So all I did was add this. And if you recall, I already had this copied, so I'm just going to paste. This was the code that is up here when the player presses the spacebar. It just says true, which means it will run the timer down, which on this script means it's playing the frames of animation. So technically, that should be it, right? The key is this public, because before all these functions are private. Reset, start the server. I'm not really sure what the question is, but I can help. I can probably help you with that in a minute. I appreciate you coming by, and I appreciate your patience. I'm a little over time at this point. Okay, I appreciate you. Okay, so we made a brand new function just like we did before on this other script, and we called it Dave, but then we reset it. We renamed it to say reset timer, and it just was a way to organize the code. This is a function we made, but it's here specifically so that one tool can talk to this one. This one handles the animation, and it would be great if we could just signal it and say play the animation. I think this is it. What we need to do now is try to talk to that script. This script tells the other script to play. Well, the play is ready to go. It's just, how do I talk to that other script? The key is understanding that we would need to, in effect, remember that that other script is available in this scene. Yes, I'm trying to do this within an hour, and if I go over, that's okay, but I really do need to focus on this to try and get it done in a short span of time. It's kind of breaking the flow, but I appreciate your question. Why am I trying to do it in an hour? Because I say you can do this in small steps, and I have a series of installments called Design Workshop, and here we go. Hey, I don't appreciate them bots. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to it and try to keep the same train of thought so that it becomes clear to people watching the video, which is to say, I'm remembering how much time to wait, and I'm remembering how much time is left. That's what these two things are. That's what these two variables are representing. And that's cool because implicit in these rules is remembering those things. This is also something I want to remember. To be fair, there is some other tool in this scene that has this script on it. This script here. If I look in the scene, there is some other tool in the scene, right? I'm here on this script, on this tool, and I want to talk to this one. I have to rely on the fact that there is one over here. So I need to remember a reference to it. It's another variable. It's going to be a variable instead of being a float or an int. These are numbers. I actually want to remember this type of script, which means I'm going to actually copy this name. Okay. I can also find it here if I say I would like to have a new variable that I can configure in the inspector, a public variable. And it's going to be, instead of a float or an int or a bool, we've done bool before, this is capital A-N-I-N. Oh, there it is, animate coin. Yes, that one. Again, I've named it, which means it exists. This is helpful. Need to make sure my stream is still working. There we go. This is helpful because, yeah, I can just create stuff. And this is that other script class. I can say enter. This is a type of thing I'm going to remember now. It's another box, but inside this box is a reference to that script that is sitting on my little coin object. Cool. So let's, I don't know, make a name that I can remember, like Anim Coin. That's fine. I mean, it makes sense. I can call it whatever I want, but I'm going to call it something I can remember, and it's unique, and that's okay. Let's just do this. Let's just do this one step, save, and go in and take a look at it. Here is my timer tool. And over here in my timer script on my game object, I can see a brand new setting. It's blank, it says none, but it's actually telling me what it's looking for. It says animate coin, which is the name of this component. This is the other script we made. So how do I get this in here? Well, Unity makes it pretty easy. I'm going to literally click and drag that object and put it here and drop it in here. What it's going to do is recognize that that other game object, the coin, has a script on it called animate coin. It's going to recognize that and refer to exactly that. So now if I click on this, it highlights. It's looking at this game object. It knows it's going right here. This is great. It means that this now has a direct connection to this tool. In fact, all of the public things on it, like the frame time and current frame, those are also available. Oh yeah, prove it. Okay, I will. Smarty pants. Now that this is here, and it's referring to this type of thing, all the public stuff is available. Meaning I could go in and say, well, let's change the frame time, for example, anim coin dot to access it. And frame, there it is, frame time. I could totally do that. The current frame, I could totally change that if I want. Now, I really don't want to. This is, again, why making things public is a little dangerous. Not really, but, you know, in theory. What I really want to do, though, is access anim coin and do that function we made. We made a function, just do this. It's called play animation. Let's do that. Right here, when timer is up, anim coin dot play animation called play. There it is. Play animation. Boom. So we're calling the function just like we call this function. The only reason we can do this is because it's a public function and we have access to that particular tool in the scene. So is this going to do it? Let's find out. We have to test, right? We know it's going to say timer's up. We've seen that work already, but this is new. We haven't seen it actually set this is animating to true. We haven't seen it actually animate the coin yet. Let's hit play. And after 5 seconds, it flips around. I literally didn't do anything. I can go A and D. I mean, I can also press spacebar, I think. I can press spacebar on my own, so I'm going to let it animate. And then I'm going to press spacebar, so it also does it. But every 5 seconds, let's look at the console. It's going to say timer's up, and it's going to, there it is. See? So when it says timer's up, it's also animating the coin. We've done quite a lot over these few sessions of Design Workshop. And this is beginning to show that a bunch of small steps can do a larger thing. Today we said there's this really cool thing called functions. It can be organizing, and that's nerdy cool. But here's the real power, and it's a little hard to see why this is so powerful now. But check it. We have 2 separate tools running 2 different things. And this tool just runs a timer. We've done that before. But now it's talking to this other tool and giving it the signal to do what we would normally do with our spacebar. We have the ability to have the player give some input so it can move the coin around, and it could also animate the coin. But now we have another tool talking to this. Tools talking to each other is a super powerful step. And it allows us to say, well, I want to make a game, and I want my game to have these features. Those features can be separate tools, as long as they can talk to each other. Imagine if they couldn't, that would be hard. But because they can, it makes your job easier. You can now do lots of small steps. And that's exactly what we want to show on the series. Lots of small steps getting things done. Today, we said we have this set of tools built up with lots of small steps. That's a cool thing to recognize. And that includes hitting the spacebar to make it animate. But what if we had another tool totally separate from the coin trigger the coin to animate? Could we make that happen? Now, because I use the word trigger and you play games, I'll bet you can see the power in this. Could I trigger a trap to spring? Could I trigger the end of the level? Could I trigger the boss fight to start? Yeah. Having one tool talk to another is happening all the time. It's very, very common in games. And hey, wouldn't you know, that's exactly what we concentrate on here in this series. We're an ape in a jungle, makes games, and sometimes play games. I think we're going to play more Fortnite. That was kind of fun. But if you're interested in watching a cartoon ape make games like Small Towers, do art, sometimes do code, talk about design, or play games, then follow. And when we go live, you can know about it if you are notified. And just like our friends today that stopped by, please use the special command Ty, because Ty lets me know you're here. And I can say, hey, you're here! And it's amazing. We'll do more design chat. We'll do more design workshop. And those will be saved on YouTube. Yeah, don't worry about it. But you know what? If you're here like our friends are, and you're like, I've got a question. You know, if we got enough people, we can have a little community of people who make games. It's an ambitious thing, but we got it. Until then, have fun. Do well. Be good. Stay safe. See ya.